So these are three cognitive biases that are especially problematic for COVID-19. And now I want to do another poll. So if you take a look at your polling options, I want to ask which of these dangerous judgment errors might be the biggest challenge for your organization. So please go ahead and take a look at the polls and vote in the polls. Which of them might be the biggest danger for your organization? We have 67% of the people who voted, so let's get those numbers up. We have 85% of the people voting, so give people around 5 more seconds. Great. So take a look at the results. What we see is that there are two that are winning out. The planning fallacy is the biggest one. So planning fallacy focusing on where people don't realize the kind of disruptions that might happen to their plans, and they don't actually make good plans for the future. They make too optimistic, too idealistic plans, don't plan sufficiently for problems and risks, and don't account for all the resources that they'll actually need. That's the biggest one. Close behind that is the normalcy bias, underestimating large major disruptors like COVID-19. Of course, the problem with COVID-19 is that it makes other major disruptors, unusual things worse. You've probably seen in the headlines about the floods in Michigan, for once in a 500-year situation flood, right? Unfortunately, climate change is making those much more frequent, so you'll see that previous floods and hurricanes and so on that are called once in a century are happening every several years, even more frequently. And that combines pretty poorly with an ongoing disaster, ongoing catastrophe like COVID-19, because right now in Michigan, they're having trouble getting people into shelters. They're trying to figure out how do you get people into shelters without having them inviting someone who has COVID-19, getting everybody in the shelter sick. So these things exacerbate each other. We have more challenges with normalcy bias than we would be at other times if we don't have COVID-19. And finally, hyperbolic discounting. So about 20% highlight hyperbolic discounting, focusing too much on the short term, not nearly enough on the long term as a major problem.